welcome back to Low Country Spotlight. We're so happy that you decided to stick around for round two. Now, our next guest is John Steinberger, who is the editor-in-chief of Low Country Source Media Group. It's so interesting to have someone in the media here with us because there's so many things that we hear about in terms of the news, and we're so happy to say that Low Country Source Media Group gives you all the news, or the news you need to know. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay, good. John, welcome to Low Country Spotlight.
It's a pleasure to be here.
We're so happy you could be here with us. Tell us a little bit about Low Country Source Media Group and some of the services that you all offer.
Well, my wife Robin and I got to talking about how the old media is formulaic and they're all reporting the same things. And there's so many interesting stories that don't get covered or we feel are misreported. So we decided to have a full service media source to provide people with the news they need to know.
Okay, and you all have a newspaper too, is that correct?
lowcountrysource.com, and we're going to add some video and audio podcasts and give people some great stories that they're really interested in.
Well, tell me, what am I going to see on Low Country Source that's different from what I see if I just turn on and I'm watching my local news, or even if I'm watching, some national news stories?
Well, there's stories that just don't get covered.
Yeah.
For example, there was a Charleston City Council meeting in which a councilman was allowed to vote by telephone, which is against their rules, and we were the first ones to report it.
Wow.
And then the old media caught up and reported that.
Now, when you say old media, tell me what that means to you. Tell me your definition of old media, and I'm assuming the way things used to be done and news was covered.
Well, the network TV affiliates as well as the daily newspaper.
Okay.
So it's more of the same. You're getting the same story wherever you turn, and so we like to report things from a different perspective, and we listen to what the people are interested in.
And tell us the importance of that thrust or that aim of yours in this day and time. Why is it important for us to get news from a source such as yours?
Well, we're very flexible in what we can report, and we take news tips. So if people are reporting there's a problem with the Shadow Moss Homeowners Association as a good example.
Yeah.
And so we interviewed people and found out what the problems were and reported it in detail and followed up. And these are things that people really care about that affect their lives.
Why do you think just the regular media outlets are missing that? Is it because we're so consumed with the Kardashians and reality TV and things of that nature that is it the human touch and things that affect people directly? You think that's just being overlooked for the frou-frou-ness of what goes on in daily life?
Right. Sensationalism is what the old media
That's the word I was
covers.
looking for.
Exactly. And I think people want more substance and their stories of interest. Another thing that doesn't get reported on is all the high-density development in West Ashley, which has caused flooding and serious property damage. So that's very important to thousands of homeowners, and the old media wasn't reporting that, and we've covered that extensively.
What are you hearing from your readers? What are they telling you in terms of how the fact that you all are covering these stories, how it's helping them, how they want you to do more? What are some of their opinions?
Well, one thing people tell me is they like to hear positive stories, upbeat stories, and success stories, and they often get overlooked. We've got some excellent charter schools in the Low Country, such as Orange Grove and Palmetto Scholars Academy. They're doing wonderful things and challenging students and getting excellent results, and nobody reports on it. So we do.
Why is that? I mean, it's something that's positive, it's something that's uplifting to the community. Why are we not here? Why is it that the first 5 minutes of news, and I'll be honest, I'm guilty. I watch the first 5 minutes because I want to hear about all the bad things that are going on, because it is sensationalism. Why is it that we as a nation have become so consumed with that negativity, and then you've got so many positive stories that people don't pay any attention to?
Well, I think that's what people really want, and I think the old media is going to come around to realize that they need to change their paradigm in reporting.
Yeah, and I'm sure that your viewership is telling you, keep doing it. We love hearing these stories.
Right, and they want their story told. That's very important as well. There are a lot of great community events that don't get covered. For example, on Christmas Day, they're going to do a celebration at the Citadel Football Stadium, serving 4,000 people.
Wow.
And I haven't seen any news stories on that, but we cover it.
Well, I haven't seen it either. Tell us about your platforms. I know it's lowcountrysource.com, so that's online.
Right.
What are some other platforms? Are you on Facebook and use social media?
Facebook.com/lowcountrysource, and we're on Twitter at LOSO News.
Okay, okay. And how did you get involved in the newspaper business? I know that you're a former educator. I know that you have a background in politics. How did you get to this point?
Well, I was actually a journalism and public relations major at the University of South Carolina, and I was a public relations officer in the Navy. And later on, I decided to do a column, or I was asked to do a column for the West Ave newspaper, and I had a relationship with Unimedia Solutions, and I know what great work they do with websites and marketing, so I worked with them on developing a website to act as a news source.
Yeah, wow. Talk to us a little bit about, I mean, I immediately, as you were talking, for some reason visualized Walter Cronkite. And you know, that iconic voice where people would hear him talk and they would know to trust and have faith in the news that he was bringing us. Do you think that we have lost that level of trust in a lot of journalists or even in our news media personalities? Or do you think it still exists?
Well, there's a term that's been developed called fake news, where
okay, yeah.
stories that aren't reliable get aired by all the networks.
But how does that even happen? It seems like that would be crazy.
Right. Well, there is a lack of trust. People don't believe what they're hearing on TV or reading in the newspaper, and I want to have people's trust, that they know that they can call me or email me at john@lowcountrysource.com and tell me what's going on in their community, and that I'll cover it, and I'll be fair and honest.
Do you think that how do you think rather it affects the way that the news is actually distributed or dispersed or whatever the word is, because there's so many newspapers that are going out of print? Like, you know, you don't walk out to your lawn anymore and find a newspaper. You know, you go online, and I get it, you know, it's a sign of the times and everything is easier when you can sit at your dining room table and do it. But do you think that affects the way that news actually gets disseminated to people with the different changes from actually print and having a newspaper in your hand versus just being able to go and pull something up on the computer?
Well, the internet is a game changer. You don't have to tune in at 6 o'clock or go out in your driveway and pick up the newspaper.
Yeah.
You can get it on demand, and we're flexible enough to report whenever information comes in. And
yeah. And I'm sure that, of course, the internet also makes it easier for people to get to you because, again, they can send you, you know, the tips and things of that nature.
Exactly. It's a two-way street.
Yeah, yeah. What are some of the most iconic stories that you've covered? What are some of the positive things that you've covered that we might have missed in the media that you can share with our audience?
Well, as I said earlier, we have high-density development going on throughout the community that's really threatening our suburban character. It's causing traffic delays. Everybody's frustrated by that.
Yeah.
And the people really don't get consulted with about what's going on in their community.
Yeah.
There's such high density development going on that it's causing flooding and traffic concerns. And for whatever reason, the old media doesn't choose to cover stories like that.
Wow, wow. Well, we're so happy that you could join us today and give us some insight into some of these stories that aren't making the regular news media. We've been talking to John Steinberger. All of his info is actually on our website, lowcountrysource.com, and he has the news that you need to know that may not be reported. Don't go anywhere. We've got more Low Country Spotlight coming right up.